Ballygally Castle Hotel, Northern Ireland. The haunting of Ballygally Castle. The storm raged violently over the Antrim Coast, waves crashing against the rocky shoreline as thunder growled in the distance. Inside Ballygally Castle Hotel, the glow of the fireplace in the lounge provided a faint sense of warmth, but the oppressive atmosphere made guests uneasy. Among them was Sarah McAllister, a travel writer seeking inspiration. Drawn by the castle's reputation as one of the most haunted hotels in the world, she had checked in earlier that day with the hope of uncovering its mysteries. She had heard of Lady Isabella Shaw, the ghost who haunted the castle's turret room, and couldn't resist the lure of the legend. A curious beginning. From the moment Sarah stepped inside, she felt the castle's history pressing down on her. The thick stone walls seemed to whisper secrets, and the flickering candlelight in the corridors cast ominous shadows. That evening, the hotel manager, Mr. Callahan, offered Sarah a tour of the castle. As they passed through the ghost room, a preserved space in the turret where Lady Isabella was said to have been locked up, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. The air felt colder, heavier, as if the room itself was breathing. "This is where she spent her final days," Mr. Callahan said, his voice low. "The legend says she was pushed or fell to her death from that very window." He gestured to the narrow, ancient window. Many guests report hearing her knock on their doors or seeing her wandering these halls, searching for her lost child. Sarah shivered, not from the cold, but from the sense of unseen eyes watching her. She couldn't explain it, but the castle seemed alive in a way that defied logic. The first night. Later that night, Sarah returned to her room, which was just a short walk from the turret. As the storm continued to rage outside, she curled up in bed with her notebook, jotting down observations. The steady drumming of rain on the window was soothing, until it stopped abruptly. Silence fell, thick and unnatural. Sarah frowned and glanced at the clock. It was 2:13 a.m. The air in her room turned icy, and the faint scent of lavender filled her nostrils. Startled, she remembered that Lady Isabella was said to leave behind the fragrance of her favorite perfume. Then came the knock. It was soft at first, as if hesitant, but it grew louder and more insistent. Sarah froze, her pen slipping from her hand. The knock echoed again, this time from her wardrobe. Summoning her courage, she approached the wardrobe and flung the doors open. It was empty. She exhaled sharply, laughing nervously at her own imagination. But as she turned away, she heard the creak of the wardrobe door closing behind her. A growing fear. The next day, Sarah shared her experience with the hotel staff, but they only smiled knowingly. "You wouldn't be the first," one of the mates said. "Lady Isabella has a way of introducing herself to newcomers." Determined to get to the bottom of the castle's mystery, Sarah spent the day researching its history. She discovered a chilling detail: Lady Isabella's death was not the only tragedy linked to Ballygally Castle. Over the centuries, there had been numerous unexplained deaths and disappearances on the grounds, all attributed to the castle's restless spirits. As night fell again, Sarah found herself drawn back to the ghost room. Armed with a flashlight and her notebook, she crept into the turret. The room was eerily still, the air heavy with the scent of lavender. "Lady Isabella," she whispered, her voice trembling. "If you're here, I just want to understand your story. Please, show me a sign." The apparition. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the room grew colder. Her flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. A soft sobbing filled the room. Sarah's heart raced as she turned toward the sound. A faint, glowing figure emerged from the shadows, a woman in a flowing gray gown, her face pale and sorrowful. "Help me," the ghost whispered, her voice barely audible over Sarah's pounding heartbeat. "Help you how?" Sarah stammered. The ghost's eyes locked onto hers, and suddenly Sarah was overcome with a vision. She saw the castle as it had been centuries ago, its walls bright and new. She saw Lady Isabella cradling her infant son, then the scene shifted, her husband's enraged face, the cold, dark turret, and the final, fatal fall from the window. Sarah gasped as the vision ended. The ghost of Lady Isabella reached out, her translucent hand brushing Sarah's cheek. "My child, find my child," she whispered before fading away. The mystery lingers. Shaken, Sarah returned to her room, unable to sleep. The next morning, she shared her experience with Mr. Callahan, who listened intently. "It said that her child was taken away after her death, his fate unknown," he said. "Perhaps she's searching for him even now." Sarah left Ballygally Castle later that day, but the experience stayed with her. She wrote about her encounter, turning it into a best-selling article that drew even more visitors to the haunted hotel. But every now and then, she dreams of Lady Isabella, standing at the turret window, staring out at the crashing waves, waiting for someone to bring her peace. And Sarah can't help but wonder, was the ghost asking for help, or was it a warning to stay away? Ballygally Castle remains a place of beauty and mystery, where history and the supernatural intertwine, offering a chilling reminder that some spirits never truly rest.